Each day, more and more people are listening to music on Spotify, and that's also true for podcasts. Next time you're on the Spotify app, make sure to follow Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Enjoy listening to Lou, his incredible guests, and all of the amazing episodes. Listen, follow, and share. Thrive Loud on Spotify.
You're probably thinking, my boyfriend said this was a superhero movie, but that guy in the red suit just turned that other guy into a fucking kebab. Well, I may be super, but I'm no hero. And yeah, technically this is a murder, but some of the best love stories start with a murder. And that's exactly what this is. Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. And to tell it right, I gotta take you back long before Lou squeezed his ass into red spandex.
Get ready to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have the owner of Chef Lizette Entertainment, a lifestyle brand advocating living more healthy, using food as the foundation, one dish at a time. I'm already getting hungry. She has cooked for over 6 million people, including 5 U.S. presidents. She works across the country giving engaging talks and cooking presentations focused on wellness and nutrition. Thrive Loud listeners, Chef Lizette. Chef Lizette, how are you today?
I am superb. Thank you so much for having me, Lou.
I love connecting with people. I love connecting with people that love food, and I love connecting with people that love food. And in the Clubhouse sphere, which is actually where you and I connected, and you've got a pretty cool story and gig. And our listeners, I want to bring them up to speed, Chef Lizette, if you could. Can you kind of give not all the rewind to the womb? I want to go recently, like the things, has food always been a part of your life?
It has, coming from a large Mexican-American family, every Sunday was centered around 13, 15, 20 people getting together every Sunday and everyone making their own signature dishes. So I immediately, from a very young age, connected celebration and gathering with food.
I like it. Now I'm going to go down a certain avenue. You grew up obviously with a certain style of cuisine. I'm assuming more towards Mexican and American type food. Yes.
I did, but I'll tell you, my mother, still to this day, I think she's the most creative cook I know. Yes, Mexican food was the absolute staple, but boy, she is just the queen of knowing how to make something from nothing. And so it was a really wide-ranging cuisine that I grew up with.
Okay, so with that wide range in cuisine, did you always gear towards maybe a little healthier than not? I noticed that's one of your key attributes.
That has actually leaned more as I became a chef and really understood the world of being a private chef, that every, client, their needs are very different. And being in Hollywood at the time, it definitely leaned towards more spa cuisine, very lean. And so it really started to develop more in my career.
Okay. Very interesting year that just passed us, 2020. And I have seen many different types of engaging ways that people can connect virtually. Chef Lizette, can you share with the listeners maybe what you did this past year and how you can kind of connect to your people, obviously with not as many people hopping into restaurants as many people would like them to?
Fun thing that I've started is to do happy hour / Zoom cooking classes for clients. It's been so much fun to see organizations, different departments after hours, at the end of the day, everyone getting into their own kitchens and us cooking together. It's been so cool because it's allowed, that team to see another side of themselves. And it's just been so much fun.
What is it about food that connects the most with you? I love asking chefs this question because there's got to be something. I got the family piece, but to be a chef, this is hard work. It is not the easiest thing. You love cooking, but you're cooking for millions of people throughout your life. what connects the most with you in food?
Because I really believe that the kitchen is the heartbeat of every home. And what I learned being in catering, going into people's homes, from very, very fancy high-end events to, you name it, everyone would congregate into the kitchen. Like that was the safe space. You could almost see it was like a security blanket in, fancy events where people just were able to break down and feel a little bit more comfortable in the kitchen. And then of course they would go out and do their thing as they were networking. But I have found that food is the absolute community builder. It is the thing that binds us all together as a society, a global society. I think that it transcends language. You could be next to someone in a foreign country and be enjoying a meal together. And just by, the body movement or the enthusiasm of the meal, it immediately connects you to people in a way that I don't think anything else does.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's really interesting. We were just, this is my wife, my mother-in-law. We were all in the kitchen, and this was simply like meatballs and spaghetti, Lizette, and everyone was giving their own little flavor of what they like. And literally, there was about a 30-minute conversation about how much spice we should be putting into this particular meal, and then trying to cater to everybody's needs. And when you think about it, it's like we're all standing in the kitchen, we're all hovering over what's in it, we're all trying it. Nothing tastes bad. It only tastes better with every other bite that you have and glass of wine. And it's such a central component to everything we do. You must love doing what you do every day.
I do. And it's interesting because, every different genre, every category of work, you could say, we all have those moments where we can geek out within our circle of people and talk our internal language. The fun thing about food, just like you said, is that you can geek out and it breaks the barriers. Like you don't have to be in this exclusive club to know how exciting it is to talk about a meatball and what's the, you know what I mean? And talk about like the perfect blend. And I think it's just so welcoming. When I think about food, I think it's just the most welcoming thing you can imagine.
Now, Lizette, you have been an exclusive club. Maybe just share with the listeners, as I read in the bio, you've cooked for some pretty heavy hitters up there. How did that become one of the many gigs that you've had in your life?
I was very blessed out of culinary school to immediately work at the Ritz-Carlton. That was my first job. And still to this day, just having that stamp of the Ritz-Carlton on your resume was able to open doors that I could never have imagined. And so when it comes to the world of celebrities, and A-list celebrities are doing, the governor's ball for the Oscars, it all just became a word of mouth. And then once you're in the door, it's just much easier to then get referred by someone else who you've done an event for. And so I'm very, very blessed that I've had the exposure of events and circles of private dinners that most people could only dream of.
Yeah.
And being in a room with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and just being a fly on the wall to the energy of the room has been extraordinary.
This is something that I love asking professionals of what they do. I want to talk about maybe the stress you might feel for a big event. Obviously, when you're cooking for like those very important meals and VIPs and stuff like that, do you feel that maybe there's a little bit more pressure or to deliver or even outperform when it comes to cooking than
a ton
every night?
Yeah.
A ton. Okay.
Well, a ton, because, these are multi-million-dollar events.
Right.
The expectation is really high. What's very interesting, because I'm now in New York in a different kind of setting when I do my cooking, and I find that I just adore those high pressured situations. It is the time where you're able to really lock into the now and just be present to the event and all the various mechanics that go into executing a flawless event. So I'm actually one of those people that really thrives in those high pressured situations.
Love it. And I would also imagine, as it relates to the work that you're doing now, a lot of the speaking about the stuff, the content of what you're making and presenting and whatnot. What about that role, those talks that you have about the food, as opposed to just making the preparation for a big event?
It's so interesting. I love cooking, but what I love more is speaking and connecting with people and using food as my vehicle. It's nerve-wracking in a different sense because I hope that they're connecting and vibing with what I'm talking about. So it's fascinating. I love those nervous butterflies before you go on, which is very similar to, a high pressured event. I guess I really enjoy those kinds of environments.
Yeah, I joke about it, was that before I go on stage or even before I do a podcast with anybody, anytime I'm performing or delivering something, I always get that nervous excitedness. And if I don't get it, then I have to stop doing what I'm doing, because literally it's that component of getting nervous means that I'm excited, I'm getting ready, and I know that I'm going to connect with someone. And I think, I imagine you feel kind of the same.
Boy, it is. And I will tell you, for anyone listening, it doesn't matter the demographic, that is such a red flag in terms of finding work that lights you on fire in that way. Like, it's good to have nervous butterflies, because at the end of the execution, the speech, the event, whatever it is you did, it is the most rewarding end of your day.
Yeah. You're in New York now, one of the food meccas and capitals of the world. I was going to ask this question. Do you have a favorite city as it relates to the restaurants, the chef community, if you would? Is there one that's better than another, or that you personally like better than another?
There's no question it's New York. Okay. I mean, there's such the chefs here cook with so much passion, and, my heart breaks right now because it's, the food landscape looks different, obviously, because of COVID. And so I really wonder what chefs are doing right now to keep themselves with that spark that I'm talking about, that enthusiasm that every day is just a joy to, pump out meals and create experiences for people.
I think we're getting there. I think the light is at the end of the tunnel, Chef Lizette. I'm telling you, I've already seen it. I hope
so. Yes. Yeah. I already got my first vaccine, so I'm really excited. And awesome. I can't wait.
I think I get mine at the end of this month. March 31st is when I get mine.
Nice.
So hopefully I'll pass you in line, when you're getting your second, I'm getting my first or something.
Listen, it's a collective thing. We got to get everyone in to do it.
Totally agree with you. And we're getting there sooner than later.
Yeah.
So I love asking this question, Chef Lizette, of all the guests that come on Thrive Loud. So curious to see where this goes. Look, like you said, you're thriving when you're speaking, when you're cooking, when you're connecting with people. It's what gets you up every day. And you've had a successful career cooking for these millions of people. So on most days, you thrive. But we all have those days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders and we're a little off our game. Chef Lizette, when you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Meditation.
Okay.
And I'm not a professional by any means, but I have been doing meditation for over 8 years. And I find that it's the single most environment that allows me to shift my perspective and slow the mind, slow the body. And so I would absolutely say meditation.
I've been progressively getting there on the meditation. We've had hundreds of guests on Thrive Loud, and so many of them have meditation as a thing. And I've tried it. My brain's just so freaking active. It's tough to just turn it off. One day I'll get there. One day.
But it's interesting because meditation is not this long process. It could literally be on the subway, turning on some music and actually being comfortable closing your eyes, believe it or not, on the subway. And just finding a moment to go within. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be this thing where you take yourself out of your world. Whatever it takes to just come back to your present state of mind, I think that's where you're onto something good.
Chef Lizette, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. You live in New York. I'm going to let our listeners know this. Everybody, please don't shut your eyes on the New York City subways.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, of course, you have to like assess the situation, get a feel for who's on your train.
Right. At least hold your pocketbook or your wallet close to you. When you
Yes,
That's all
hold on. Yes, of course. But listen, I mean, I've been right in the heart of Times Square and have managed to, I mean, like, that's the ultimate moment of finding peace is, can you find a moment in the most chaotic, busy area and find a way to just slow down, even if it's for a minute or 30 seconds. It's the ultimate test.
Love it. Chef Lizette, let's do this. Let's take care of the admin part of the show. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, website, URLs, social media handles, whatever the heck you want to share. We will put it all in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it directly from you.
Yes. So cheflizette.com. I love Instagram, which is at Chef Lizette. Twitter is probably my favorite because that's where people communicate. So at Chef and then _ Lizette. And of course, Clubhouse, which is where you and I met, which is at Chef Lizette. And then there's YouTube and all of that, which is at Chef Lizette, Facebook at Chef Lizette. Twitter is the only one where it's Chef _ Lizette.
You also have cookies. Can you tell people about these cookies?
Yes, I've been playing with a chocolate chip cookie recipe for probably my entire career. And I've loved tweaking it. I love baking it. I'm not necessarily selling it at a large scale right now, but I've been playing with it specifically during COVID, where I started to produce more. So yeah, it's something that I'm continuously thinking about. How can I branch that out?
Okay. Chef Lizette, permission to go down Fun Street with me here on Thrive Loud.
Yeah, let's go.
All righty. First of all, share with the listeners your all-time favorite movie, or one of them.
A Color Purple.
Okay.
And I say that because they're just the sisterhood and the family aspect of that movie is beautiful.
I find it interesting, by the way. Can you share with the listeners what you told me was your other favorite movie? And I want to know why that movie connects.
For sure, which is totally left field, as you thought. Goodfellas. And that is because, ironically, there's a brotherhood there. And even though it's a violent movie, I just really am drawn to even war movies. There's something about a band of brothers, a band of sisters, a band of family coming together, regardless of the setup. It's just, they're my favorites for sure.
I like it. So we're going to do the speed round here in Fun Street. I'm going to put, pun intended here, a little different flavor into it for you. So the way this works is I'm going to ask you a question. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. Most of these things are things that make you thrive, that lift you up, that motivate you, that really pick you up each day. So I just want the first thing that comes to your mind. Ready to rock and roll?
Yep.
Okay. A song you love to hear or that pumps you up.
Viva la Vida from Coldplay.
Like it. Favorite food that's not a dessert.
Cucumbers.
A favorite dessert.
A 5-layer coconut cream cake, slice of cake.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Hardcore weightlifting. Like, you know.
That's spectacular. An activity you wish you did less of.
Work. I mean, work in terms of, you know, being a chef, the part I didn't talk about is how physically taxing it could be. So definitely that.
And very hard on your feet, I would imagine, is always the toughest part.
For sure.
Yeah. If you could snap your fingers and go anywhere in the world, Chef Lizette, where are you?
Paris.
Chef Lizette, if you had the opportunity to prepare one favorite thing you love to prepare and you wanted to share that with the audience, what is the one thing you love to cook the most?
Wow. Oh my God, there's so many things. But it's interesting. It's the most basic thing. I love making rotisserie chicken. And that is because it was something near and dear to Julia Child, who is my goddess. And she just mastered the art of making the most perfect rotisserie chicken. So I just feel like I'm connected, spiritually with her when I make that. And I love making that.
My final question for you kind of loops it back to the movies, because I'm imagining you've seen these, but I'm going to hope you did. I'm going to name 3 movies that are around the concept of cooking and preparing food. 4 movies, actually. I'm going to make it 4. I'm going to add one extra variable one. And I want to know which one of these is your favorite. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. A Big Night, Chef, 100-Foot Journey, or Ratatouille.
Oh my God. You're killing me. You're killing me. And I just knew you were going to put Ratatouille in there.
Because Ratatouille is unbelievable. It is really incredible, actually.
It is so legendary. I love all of those movies. That's crazy that you mentioned those. My favorite would be Chef.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the one that was directed by Jon Favreau, correct?
Yes, correct. And he was in it,
yes.
starring in it and directed by Jon Favreau.
Yes. And that is because it is the most honest depiction of the journey and struggles of a chef, of, their art and how it evolves, and how do you evolve as a human being to keep showing your art in different formats. So I adore that movie.
Lizette, I have a favorite part of that movie, but I had another comment of another movie. My favorite part in Chef is when the first time they're in Miami and they're making the Cuban sandwiches, and his son is about to serve one that has been burnt through the bread, and he basically pulls him aside after John Leguizamo is like, "Uh-oh, here he goes. Let me explain this to you." He goes, "Listen,
slow down for a second. Is this boring to you?"
No, I like it.
Yeah, well, I love it. Everything that's good that's happened to me in my life came because of that. I might not do everything great in my life. Okay, I'm not perfect. I'm not the best husband, and I'm sorry if I wasn't the best father. But I'm good at this. And I want to share this with you. I want to teach you what I learned. I get to touch people's lives with what I do. And it keeps me going, and I love it. And I think if you give it a shot, you might love it too.
Yes, chef.
Now, should we have served that sandwich?
No, chef.
That's my son. Get back in there. We got some hungry people. He's ready to cook.
He goes, "I know I'm not the best dad in the world. I don't do that well, but this I do really well."
Right.
And it was such a great message to talk about the passion that he has for food, just to show the angle of how they're making the Cuban sandwich, and where the butter level was, and where the bread would be, what color it should be. Like, for anyone that like just appreciates that great thing that tastes good, you're getting hungry as you're watching it. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Well, I love that you mentioned that. That was absolutely one of my favorite moments, but it's also because the integrity value that he was teaching his son, which I have said time and time again, because everyone has been so interested in like the celebrities or the high profile events that I've worked for. But I can tell you that I've had the same amount of joy for everyday folks, for homeless people that I've given meals to. And so integrity is a huge part in the craft of being a chef, that, you know what I mean? There's just there's no measure to it.
The other 2 movies that we'll mention, obviously, look, A Big Night, I've literally felt full just watching it. But interestingly, both that movie, Big Night, and going to 100-Foot Journey, my 2 favorite scenes in those movies are related to them making eggs, which is actually very symbolic, because we know egg is kind of that symbol of life, right? So you have the omelet scene in 100-Foot Journey, where his hands are burned and he's having Helen Mirren make the omelet for him with his recipe. And then the last scene after the Big Night, there's not a word being uttered. All it is the 2 of them making, an omelet in the morning or whatever it was. And you're watching it and you're just like, this is so spectacular. How everything hovers around that kitchen. So I'm with you on that.
Well, and it kind of speaks to also like why I said rotisserie chicken, because chefs really appreciate doing the most basic thing well and mastering that. And so I love that you said that eggs, because that is the hallmark of a good chef.
No, totally. Chef Lizette, this has been absolutely a delicious interview. I didn't want to go down the whole fancy all the famous people you did. I wanted to get to know you and have our listeners do the same. And that's what this was all about, because you do truly thrive loud. So thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.